Hello and welcome to A Store to Steer Her High. Star to Steer Her By.
Oh, these are my favorite intros. I'm so glad I'm here for this.
You are listening to A Star to Steer Her By, a Star Trek podcast. This is episode number 159.
Nope.
Sorry. This is episode 158.
That's great.
Today's episode, we're going to be covering 2 episodes of Star Trek The Next Generation.
Nope.
Deep Space Nine.
Yeah.
But first, my name is Jake.
Nope.
What do you mean, nope?
We've been noping everything Jake's been saying because he's mostly been wrong so far.
But this
But he
right,
is a
wasn't it?
Jake.
This is Ames?
Wait, I didn't say my name. No. You
All right,
interrupted me.
Chris, you ready?
Hello and welcome to A Star to
Hey,
Steer Her
sir.
High.
Oh!
This is Jake.
This is Chris.
I've already went. Edit it in.
Chris isn't going to do that.
We'll see.
This is Ames?
I'm Caitlin.
I'm James.
Welcome
Special
back,
guest
James.
star.
What are you still doing here?
Welcome back,
You didn't let me
special
go
guest.
home.
All right, well,
We tied him to a
you've lived
radiator.
here for a whole week.
I feel older.
You look
Well,
older.
as mentioned, we are going to be covering 2 episodes of Star Trek Deep Space Nine.
Woo!
Yeah.
Those episodes are in no particular order other than the order in which they aired.
And we're discussing them.
And the order in which we're discussing them are Melora, followed by Rules of Acquisition, as they would say en français.
Oh.
I don't think that's right.
Nope.
Melora aired Halloween 1993, and a
Melora.
very scary episode it is.
Melora Borealis.
In Melora, there's a woman. Her name happens to be Melora.
What?
She comes from a planet where there is very low gravity, and therefore she's got weak-ass bones and muscles. Mostly muscles, I guess. Basically, she's in Starfleet, but like she has to wear like an exoskeleton type of deal, and she most of the time she uses a wheelchair, but she's also like very independent and she doesn't need anyone's help.
So, Reva from Loud as a Whisper.
Sure. Yeah, but at first she's kind of like cold about it, and you know.
Reva from Loud
She's
as a
like,
Whisper.
I'm going to go on a away mission all by myself in this runabout. And Cisco's like, I wouldn't let anybody do that.
That's my roundabout.
Especially not an ensign.
Yeah.
Fuck.
So Bashir, should I say smelling Melora, decides that he's got to get in.
What?
He can
He's
smell
a creep.
vagina.
Oh.
He decides he wants a piece of that.
No.
And Dax is all happy to be like, yes, Julian, go for it.
Pursue someone that isn't me.
Please.
And so Julian designs, or finds this like therapy that he can do to give her super strength, and it works, but it's going to be an irreversible process.
So she doesn't need the chair anymore.
So she wouldn't need the
Clarify.
chair. Yeah, exactly. It would make her think, make her bones and muscles strong enough she could just be, walk around in normal gravity.
Normal to us.
Yeah, well, normal to evidently everyone in the galaxy except for her planet.
Meh.
So he starts giving it to her, and eventually she's like, yeah, you know
He
what?
starts giving it to her already.
He does give it to her, and eventually she's like, yeah, you know what? I kind of would miss flying, which is what I do on my homeworld.
And the dick's not that good.
And the dick ain't that good. Meanwhile, though, Quark is getting into trouble with Felix Cat. Felix Cat?
Felix the cat?
Felix the Cat.
I don't remember Felix the cat being in
Anyway.
this episode.
Anyway, he's in trouble with the Alpha Quadrant sandwich-eating champion, Felix Cat.
I don't understand.
Because he had
That's stupid.
He had his makeup was such that there was his mouth was mostly covered by part of his nose.
By
He had a beak
penis
that
or
was
something.
attached to his chin.
I hated that.
Yeah,
I
it
It
thought
was
was
like a
terrible.
handle
Yeah.
face.
Yeah.
I think
Face.
Star Trek may have just introduced its dumbest alien ever. I don't know if they
How
will
does
ever
he
top
eat?
it. I don't know.
How do they kiss?
Okay,
straw.
since we're
They
on that
don't.
topic
No, we're not. We're in the-
explicitly.
we're in
Yeah, no,
the
sorry.
synopsis.
Wait,
This
we're
is
in the
really, really
synopsis.
important.
But okay.
I was watching with my friend, and they said if they were kissing, they would call it bumping beak.
That was really important, James.
That's
It was.
great.
Go on, Jim.
Your
So
friend-
anyway,
your friend,
Felix,
you don't want
James, you're fired.
Felix
So
shows
is your
up, and
friend.
it turns out that he was an old business associate of Quark's, who Quark ditched, and the guy ended up,
Sounds all like Janestown.
a little Jamestown-y. Quark ended up, this guy ended up spending 8 years in prison as a result of Quark, and now he's here to kill Quark, and he says as much. So Quark goes to Odo, is like, Odo, this guy's going to kill me. And Odo's like, Odo's like, you know what, I'll do my job, but if you
I ain't gonna like it.
But it's, whatever. So anyway, Quark, figures out a way to get through this. Guy's like, listen, hey, we can rip off, or I'll give you the proceeds from this score I'm about to make.
Let's do one last job.
So then he takes the proceeds, but then he kills the other business contact, and they have to...
That was sad.
Yeah, that was douchey.
He just wanted some trinkets.
And then, Anne steals the product, and
but
Quark's
they weren't even trinkets. It's like he was gonna,
it's like some cultural
he
thing.
was gonna, fucking donate them to a museum. Ugh.
Poor that
So
guy.
they steal a runabout, and this is where the storylines converge,
Barely.
because...
Forcefully.
Just like that guy's
Melora
face.
has to disengage the gravity in the runabout in order to gain the advantage and hit the guy.
Yeah, a little buttony.
Yeah, a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And
I liked it.
yeah,
it's buttony.
and all is well. We never see this character again.
Nope.
That's the worst part.
Yeah, she decides not to do the you can walk on dry land aerial bit.
Well, I'm kind of glad.
Because she likes flying too much.
I'm kind of glad, though, because
Oh,
I
yeah.
kind of
No
feel
kidding.
like Julian just kind of decided she was going to do it. I don't really
She'd never see her
remember...
family again. Jesus.
I just mean, I don't remember them ever actually discussing it. It's just like, hey, I found this thing, and then he was like, and you're doing it. And also, as many people as possible tried to mention, oh, you're gonna get published for this, and she never mentions it, and he never acknowledges it, and I'm like, Julian, you son of a bitch.
He should still publish, though.
There's...
I mean, okay,
That's
but
so
let's
fucked up.
let's just talk about the fact that where is the ethics board review?
Don't they do, clinical trials before
Well, that's the thing. It's
starting,
like
She
you know?
is
so
the clinical
basically,
trial.
basically, you took this woman you're fucking and decided to experiment on her.
So it's actually a
And
little
not
worse
in a
than
fun
that.
sexual way
Because
either.
so Julian is basically her doctor at first.
Yeah.
And then later as as kind of a flirtatious moment, he, goes and visits her and says, "I'm not your doctor anymore."
Let's have some.
Let's play doctor.
Right. And so they have an intimate moment.
I think
and
they
then
have
and then after
Please, James. It was probably more like an intimate
And then-
32
yeah,
seconds. Let's
probably.
not overstate.
And then
with Julian.
after the intimate moment, he then says, "Oh, I can perform this medical procedure on you," which would make him her doctor
Again.
while being in a relationship with
Yeah,
her. Which is
no,
just
it's-
Are there rules
completely-
against dating your doctor?
Oh, yes.
Oh yeah.
Are there actually rules against dating your doctor?
I know
What if you
I
want to date your doctor?
I know of a
Yeah,
doctor.
what if your doctor is
I
really
know of
hot?
a doctor who had a relationship with a patient and he lost his license.
What?
This happens.
Yeah, no, you're
So if
really...
you want to date your doctor, you're like, well, I guess you can't be my doctor
Yeah,
anymore.
you
need to
Right.
switch practices.
Get a different
Who is
doctor.
that on? Is that on you or the
It's
doctor?
on
Both
the
of
doctor.
you. I think.
No, it's on the doctor because he's the one with the
Well, yeah, that's true.
power.
The
sort
doctor
of
has to be like, we
situation.
can't do this anymore.
Well, yeah, but it's Star Trek, so I'm sure it's fine.
Yeah,
Yeah,
there
it
was
is
a lot very wrong with that.
Super ethically fucking dubious.
But hey, guys, he didn't let the fact that she was in a wheelchair stop his boner. So I mean, that's
Yeah, this was another episode of Julian's sex tourism.
Like,
basically.
why has he become the Geordie of this show?
Yeah, well, the moment Melora shows up, I got such the strong Leia Brahms vibe because he's like,
Oh, yeah.
hey, I've been reading up all about you. I'm like, oh my god, you're basically Jordan.
And she
then
treated him really poorly,
and
like she
comes
did
in
to
and
Jordan.
is a bitch. And
Well-
he's like, oh, well, you're not the same as in your file until they bond over whatever the fuck. And
She just didn't find the sex doll that he made.
Oh no!
I know he's got her in his holodeck.
That's why
somewhere,
he
I'm
modified the chair designs because he wanted to be able to put his real doll in it. Oh, Julian, you're the worst. Sorry, it's not funny. I mean, it is funny, but I'm not actually.
When you touch this wheelchair, you're touching me.
Oh God!
No.
Sure. There's a hole in the back of the wheelchair.
So another problem with the whole
Thank you.
central
Please help.
premise of this episode
Say again?
Is it stupid?
is the fact that I get what they were going for, but
What were they going for, Chris?
the whole fucking Little Mermaid thing. It's like, oh no, if I am not crushed by your gravity, I can never go home. It's like, wait, what?
No, you'd go home and you'd be like a fucking Superman.
Yeah,
you know?
it's the
You
opposite.
could leap tall
That's
buildings.
true. They have this character on the Orville, and she's super strong.
Yeah, that's the whole
Yeah,
point of
like,
that character in the
If she
Orville.
was from that thing, she's from a low gravity. If it was the other way around, if she was from a high gravity world and they adapted her to lower gravity, then yes, she couldn't go home without it being bad. But this is also, how the fuck How the actual piddling pissing fuck is Julian Bashir an astronaut who has never done any sort of low-grav training?
There's a button for it right in the shuttlecraft, and there's also holodecks that exist.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure
And
you
you
like.
do EVAs.
And Kirk and Spock once commented, granted it was in TAS, so fuck it, but they commented, "Oh, when was your last zero-gravity training, Mr. Spock?" "Oh, last week with you," if I remember the
Well, that's the
fucking
thing.
line.
They don't
They
have
even say that in First Contact.
Do they?
Yeah, that's because it's implied.
Well, First Contact hasn't happened yet.
Yeah, but it's still. I mean, the point is, in canon, it is still a thing in Starfleet that you do 0G training.
Well, that's the thing. Even if they hadn't said it in canon at this point, I still would have just felt like, of course they do 0G training. They are fucking astronauts.
They are in space.
Like, you could argue, like, oh, well, the doctors don't do the EVAs. And it's like, well, look, they're gonna be on starships. There's no way there isn't training for everyone, in case the gravity breaks. Like, the fact that he has never been
Happened on TAS.
Yeah, there's no way he's not ever been in a low gravity
Well, maybe
environment.
that's not that. Maybe it's that he never did it with a sexy lady.
No, maybe.
No, his reaction when he started floating was like, "This is awesome."
Yeah, no,
You stole
that was-
fizzy lifting
Actually,
drink.
Yeah, I
here's a
had the
question.
same thought.
Here's a question about if Melora would be able to go home. I'm sure that would mean like her cardiovascular system and stuff would be different.
Yeah, I mean, I'm wrong. She would it would cause her issues.
Ultimately, the show establishes she could not go home.
Yeah.
It doesn't really... the details don't really matter.
Yeah.
But
Like,
then,
if she gets the treatment, she cannot go home.
Yeah. Which I'll admit was one of my notes, was like, wait, if she gets this treatment, how does this affect her home life? Oh, well, there we go.
Yeah.
And no one's talking about this at first.
Well, also though that Starfleet officers don't seem to have much of a home life.
It's true. That's what someone should have said to her. It's
Or
like,
the
look,
option though.
honestly, you're not gonna go home. None of us stuck.
The other thing too is I feel as though the whole the wheelchair thing was a big issue in this episode, like how they couldn't get over the thresholds in the station because that's how it's
Bad
designed.
design, yeah.
That's Cardassian design. They don't care about those.
Well, I
who
was gonna
can't
say they
walk.
probably just fucking leave people who can't
But
walk out
how
on the
are
I don't know. Have you
fucking
seen
mountain.
Jeffrey's tubes in the Enterprise?
How are there not hover chairs?
There was, but she couldn't use one on there because
Actually, they were
there was science babble at the beginning
Did
of
they say
why
that?
she
They were
couldn't
going-
do that.
in the episode. They were originally going to try to use the chair that they used for Jameson in TNG, but because all the set is all the corridors are way narrower and everything is way tighter because it's a space station.
Oh,
they
you're
couldn't use
talking
that
about
chair.
realistic reality
Yeah,
things.
I mean,
Yeah.
that and also probably bleeds into why that would make sense in the world too.
I also like how the wheelchair basically looked like a wheelchair from today. With
Yeah,
but
except
it was
it
like a
had a
space.
fucking really stupid movement control.
It had
what
that,
the
and
fuck
it had
was
like
that dumb
silver
piece of shit?
wheels.
That's
like,
it's the future.
It was like a future. It was like the fucking drum kit in fucking Nemesis.
Yeah.
The goddamn plastic symbol. God damn it.
I also feel
Oh, I
like
forgot about that.
I get that they were trying to show that she was independent, but I feel like again the sort of the argument kind of falls apart because it's like no, lady, it's not because of your gravity issue. It's because I would not send any ensign alone into the Gamma Quadrant with a runabout.
Yeah,
Right.
bring your own runabout. BYOR.
Like maybe
But they would have had that discussion with the ensign there and not a doctor, and she was being treated differently.
Yeah.
Like, it doesn't...
because he wanted to talk about her because he likes her.
Yeah, probably. But, no, she was getting treated differently. She was getting treated with kid gloves, and it's really not reasonable to...
No, I don't think that's true. I think they were just telling him what had transpired. I don't really feel like saying, oh, I met our new ensign and she seems to think she's going to pilot this fucking thing on her own. What a crazy bitch.
Yeah.
That doesn't feel like kid gloves. That feels like, hey, heads up, this one's a pain in the ass. You're going to have to talk her off the ledge here because she thinks she's going to fucking pilot this thing herself.
I also don't think it's reasonable. I don't think very seldom does any Starfleet officer, even a captain, go by themselves out on an away
Right,
mission.
no, I'm not saying that it's unreasonable that you would have supervision or you'd have a
you'd have
co-pilot.
you just have a backup.
I'm saying that the way that
buddy
they
system.
were having the discussion was different than the way they'd have the discussion with anyone else.
I don't know if I agree.
I think they all just happened to be there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think for me, what made it a little more effective was if it wasn't so much the discussion was, should we send someone with you? But maybe they were going to try to insist on sending, like, a medical person as well, just in case. Then that could have felt a little more like, yeah, no, guys, you're being a bit much.
Yeah.
Because this way it's a little too subtle, I think.
Maybe if like her intention would be like, no, I want to turn the gravity off so I can do my work in low gravity.
Well, and that could have been exactly what it was, right?
Yeah,
but she
'cause
hasn't opened up to anybody about that yet.
But again, you'd think CRG training.
Yeah. Well, like I said, I said to Chris, and I will now say to you, I actually really liked that she was being kind of a bitch, because I feel like so often the depiction of people who are differently abled is that they're really happy and nice, and they're really like just such nice, sweet people. And it's like, yeah, or they're just like, people, and some of them are great and some of them are assholes, and they have their own, some of them are great assholes, man. There's just, I think I liked that they were not playing the like, oh, I'm so happy to be here and have this opportunity because, I'm in this chair and I know you don't have to let me be here. Instead, she was like, fuck you, I do my work, I do it well, I don't need your stupid special treatment, I'm pissed off that you fucked with my chair, not here to make friends, I don't know.
Notice how she likes her Klingon food.
I liked her a lot.
She's a good character.
Her not continuing to be on the show was
Oh, you know what's interesting?
very missed opportunity. She would have been fantastic.
Originally, they were designing a character, from a low gravity environment to be the science officer on the show. But I didn't get a lot of chance to go too far down this rabbit hole. But I guess there were a lot of
Terry Farrell didn't want to walk into Frankenstein.
No, I mean they made them go with the Trill, and I think they decided later. I mean, I think remember we learned that they cast Terry Farrell like super fucking late.
That's right.
When this decision had already been made. You okay there, Caitlin?
You okay?
Dear. Oh dear.
Oh, Terry Farrell didn't look like fucking Frankenstein. Jesus Christ.
And the writer of this episode, Evan Carlos Summers, is in a wheelchair himself.
Okay.
Oh, cool.
And he
I
has stated
I feel
that,
a little better about it then.
Yeah, his treatment of this episode was trying to undo what happened in Ethics, where Worf got barreled.
Oh yeah.
And the treatment of him was
God.
You're done.
Yeah, he's gonna.
You better just die.
He needs to kill himself now because he's useless. Good for him. That's awesome.
Well, that was.
He also really didn't like a lot of the treatment, the edits they made to this episode, because there were some elements that they changed. He was very displeased with it.
Yeah, there was definitely like, I was surprised at how well the episode generally handled the topic, because it very much is like the premise of it's like a very special episode of Star Trek.
Yeah, well, that's
where it's like where we confront disability.
But why would anyone want to do drugs?
Well,
right.
that had been because I didn't know that the writer.
Yeah.
Because I remember thinking one of my first notes, oh god, is this going to be some sort of really cringy, well-meaning but written by only able-bodied people episode?
Well, there are definitely parts like that, like the scene, the scene where Julian is like, I don't think you're mad at people, I think you just are scared and want to be safe, and that's why you lash out at everyone. And it was just that's so incredibly heavy-handed and able-splaining and ridiculously awful.
Oh yeah, that fucking scene, that was weird. When he walks in and she's like, "Oh, I owe you an apology," and then he just yells at her for a while,
right?
Until he hits on her. It's
and she was apologizing for stuff she had absolutely no reason to apologize.
Yeah, the apology was very weird.
I do wonder if those were the edits that were made to the script, because they're so tonally discordant with a lot of the rest of it.
Yeah, I didn't get a chance to look too far into it.
Just, the writing itself is just so garbage in that scene.
Yeah, it really is. I guess, but the thing was, I was able to sort of write it. I was like, yep, this is Julian being fucking Julian.
Yeah, and I feel like that character's come a long way.
But there's still some
but
there's still some season 1 baggage.
Sometimes several feet.
This was a big step backwards for him. I
think
it
was.
You know what's funny is I know I had seen this episode before, but I was convinced in my brain that it was a Riker episode. So when it turned up now,
it does feel like a Riker episode.
Yes. This is very This stuff does have some of that Riker
man whorishness.
The outcast.
I will say
vibe.
too, if there's one thing, and I don't know how to explain this, but it felt right when they revealed that before he decided to go into medicine, Julian thought he would be a tennis pro. It's Julian's the kind of guy, if he had made it as a pro, he totally then would have
I was gonna be a doctor.
was gonna like, no, he would do like his time as a pro, and then he'd retire to teach like wealthy, bored, middle-aged housewives tennis, or, you know, quote unquote, teach them tennis. Like, he's definitely that kind of sleazy tennis instructor in my mind.
I guarantee, though, he draws like little comics of himself as a superhero tennis player who's a brilliant doctor by night.
He's both. That does feel like a bad time about this last week, but like bad 70s series. Like a fucking brilliant surgeon who's also just the world's like second seed tennis player.
But he's also works for the CIA.
Oh,
He also has a different woman every
He uses that as a cover, you know, to go to like tennis championships in Moscow.
Yeah. I have to. we gotta get him to Moscow. Someone who's there is doing a big nuclear negotiation, but his heart, it's issues. We don't trust him with the Russian doctors or
There's
something.
definitely a scene where like there's an assassin in the stands at the championship, and he sees him and he intentionally
Hits him with the ball.
Yes.
Yeah, fuck yeah. I like this
I was going to
show.
suggest that you should just delete this entire conversation, but I kind of want to keep it to that.
Well, thankfully, we don't take orders from you, so
know,
Chris will be deleting it because it's not related to the episode.
No, this is great. I love it.
Oh, okay. Well, when Chris has a fucking
Tennis!
idea, it stays in.
Yeah,
Well, no, because again,
I see how it is.
Yeah, me
Jake's
too.
punchline is making.
Editor makes himself look good.
Well, as he often does tell us, if we would like to edit it, we may. And none of us would like to do
All
that.
right, well we can continue talking about the episode. What
God,
about
no, I trust you even less than him.
Oh, yeah.
What about
Okay,
the
okay,
B plot? What about Quark?
No, wait. Before the B plot, there's an
Yeah.
element of the A plot I want to discuss.
Is it the discussion between Dax and Melora about girl talk?
Boys! Good point. Let's talk about that first, then we'll talk about my
Okay.
thing.
All I wrote is that at least it was better than Troy and Crusher.
Yes.
Well, they certainly weren't wearing leotards.
Yeah, that is
And the
very
whole
true.
and the whole time, I'm certain Jadzia's like, yes, take him off my hands.
Yeah.
You,
That's really
you
what
love
it was.
him, yeah, he's great.
Jadzia
Yeah, I know.
was-
Totally marriage material.
Yeah,
Jake
no, he's
girl.
whoa. Yeah, you know what? He's really good at tennis.
The worst
Have
part
you seen his
is
dick?
the worst.
I have.
The worst part is like the lead up to the boys talk is like Melora is like, oh, do you mind if I put on some like Vulcan music? And I'm like, oh, they're gonna talk music in the runabout. This is gonna be so cool. And
Why
then
would that be cool?
because it would just
Why wouldn't it be cool?
Because it would be interesting and neat. It would be fun to have these two characters nerd out about music, particularly
The Vulcan
Jadzia,
Etudes.
who's been around for
She knew the original
400
Surak.
years. Yeah, like it's like it could have been a pretty cool conversation, and like
Yeah.
Melora knows her stuff.
Yeah.
like she's got like deep cuts. She probably has like literal vinyl in a storage unit somewhere.
No, that's probably, yeah.
And so that would have just been interesting, and then they would have had two women talking about something other than boys.
They spent a sentence talking about Vulcan music.
She was like,
They
"Can
said,
I turn
derivative-
this music
it's-
on?" And she was
it's
like,
derivative, isn't it? Oh yeah.
When you're driving the runabout, you put on whatever music you want.
"Let's talk about boys now."
What I loved, though, from the A plot was the Klingon chef stroke singer stroke.
I'm so sad he doesn't show up more.
Right? Like, every time they show a Klingon who's not a warrior, I'm like, I want to know you! Come back! You make food and you play some sort of weird throat fiddle while you sing.
Yeah.
And he's still so Klingon about every moment of
is.
it.
Right.
Like when Melora calls him out and saying, well, your gah isn't fresh enough, or
Yeah.
whatever the stuff. I forget the stuff.
Yeah,
But
well, yeah.
the stuff wasn't fresh enough. And
Nothing's worse than
And he gives him
half-dead
this big smile
death.
like, yeah, I like you, and throws it over his shoulder in the
Yeah.
most Klingon way.
Yep. He's like, alright, you're not just a fucking tourist.
Oh yeah, I did like. I think he shows up in one more episode this
Yeah.
this season.
He does.
But that's it though. Like,
That's what I want.
he really should have been like just in the background all the
Just
time.
CBS, just give me one mini-series, one 6-episode series about the Klingons who aren't the big, tough murder
Put 'em in a
Klingons.
No,
All of it in
CBS is not
shorts.
that smart anymore because
Give me the
the
art
Klingons are a
Klingons.
monoculture now.
I know.
They've always mostly been, but any potential hint that they weren't is gone.
I know. I want the poet Klingon or the architect Klingon or
Well, you
doctor.
got Shakespeare. What more do you
Yeah.
want?
The old lady
Kalar. We
nanny
want Kalar
Klingon.
back.
Kalar, who's only half Klingon, so you know.
But yes, so all that aside, B plot.
Yeah, so Quark, this B plot was dumb as fuck.
Oh,
I loved it.
It's perfect.
The start of the B plot is Quark sees his old partner who he screwed over. He sits down with his old partner who he screwed over, and his partner who he screwed over says, "I'm going to kill you." And that's the setup for the entire plot, and that's all that happens for the entire thing.
Yep.
Is the guy's like, yeah, that was a good try to placate me, but
I'm
I'm
gonna
going
kill
to kill you.
I loved when Quark finally goes to Odo, and Odo, first of all, already knows everything. But then he takes that minute where he clearly is picturing this guy killing Quark, and just has the biggest smile on, and Quark's like, what? Oh, nothing.
Yeah, I should rephrase. I think everything that Armin Shimmerman did as part of this B plot was gold.
Yeah.
But I did not care for the guy.
His makeup was reprehensible.
His makeup was
I think that was a big part of the problem.
The acting was...
Because there was even a moment where he eats, and it just does prove how evolution would never make that
In
face.
the very first scene, Quark hands him a drink, and he convenently sips it off stage.
Yeah.
That was so good. Always eat off camera.
Yeah.
Like,
when you're
Give
that
him a
species.
straw.
Like, real evolution
work.
wouldn't do that. It just wouldn't. Again, we got a lot of Star Trek to go, but they will be hard pressed to ever have such a stupid
They
design.
can't, what they could have done is just given him a fucking trunk.
Yeah.
And he could just dip that in the liquid and
That
then have
would've
the
been
liquid
fun.
disappear. And
I
they're
would've
like, he
enjoyed
drinks
that.
through his
He could have
trunk.
been a vape alien.
Yeah.
Those made more sense.
Anything.
What were those things?
The
benzite.
Benzite, yeah, that's it, thanks.
That'd be funny, a criminal benzite, because we've only seen the two nerdy ones that
They
were the
just
same
rip
guy.
out the hoses and it'd be done.
It's true.
But this guy definitely feels like he'd just be like, yoink.
Yeah,
And
that
just
would
like,
hurt.
Whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah, it's like pulling a Ferengi by the ear. It's right there. And he'll make the orgasm sounds.
Still haunted by Quark's weird...
It's been an entire week.
And then, the way that plots awkwardly
it's
dovetail.
never gonna leave me. That's why.
Yeah, I mean, it was really just to be like, look, she's fucking
Superhuman
when she's got zero gravity.
It's like when Geordi uses his visor to do things. He's like, oh, you're using the thing that the rest
one
of us
time.
wouldn't have to.
You've turned your disadvantage into an advantage.
now. One of the times where you just would feel like these plots didn't need to dovetail. And they did.
Oh, and the phaser didn't affect her because she was getting shot up with the hormones, or
Oh yeah, that's
because phasers
not hormones. That was
that way.
Bashir. The stuff for her body
physiology.
physiology.
He had to publish that, and someone in the fucking someone in the
Makes
more,
you impervious to phasers.
right, someone in the much more military end of Starfleet was like,
no.
super soldiers.
It did knock her on her butt.
Yeah, but she lived, which
Yeah.
was not supposed to
But
happen.
we don't know what's setting the phaser.
I mean, it killed the other guy.
I was gonna say, presumably it was on kill, since they
Maybe-
made a big
maybe
deal
it was
of her
on
not,
hurt a lot.
dying.
Unless you're our pre-existing condition.
The other guy, by the way, had we seen one of his species before? He was familiar. Weird little rat.
Yeah, he's a Uridian.
Thank you.
What's it?
They're from Uridium.
the guy who told Worf that his dad was still alive.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
One of those things.
Thank you.
interesting.
It's driving me nuts.
So here's a question. So when they're kidnapped by fucking what's his name, Kot, can't we beam them out of the?
I thought the
Shuttle?
same thing.
Could that be a way to get the hostages back?
You would think
Beam
so.
them out.
Well, they I
or
thought-
beam out the guy who's taking them hostage, or.
No.
Oh, okay.
Cisco asks if they can
not
beam
how it
over
works.
at Warp, and O'Brien says, that's not a good idea, sir.
Oh yeah, but then they weren't at warp eventually, weren't they?
Yeah, I know.
So
They,
or did
they warped over there.
I also realized,
Wait, who was at Warp?
wasn't that a
The
thing?
runabout was at Warp?
somebody was at warp at one point.
Yeah.
They eventually
Well,
teleport over there.
Because they
They
were
do,
chasing, because they were chasing them, and Cisco's like, "Can you beam me over?"
I mean, before they even fucking left the,
yeah.
station, but.
Yeah, that was. I don't know. Yeah, they probably should have just beamed them off.
Technically, if you're moving at the same speed as another spaceship, you're essentially not moving relative to each other.
Yeah, but I
So
think
it's
there's
like
a
you're
problem with. I
stationary.
think there might be a problem with Warp because Warp actually distorts space.
Yeah.
So maybe that's not a good thing to beam through.
What it really comes down to is one of the primary rules of Star Trek is if your plot could be solved by the transporter, you forget it exists.
And if you have to, you will make an excuse for it not to work in that moment.
True.
Cool.
So speaking of phallic Kot, in an early draft, he would have tried to kill Quark with SETI eels.
What?
Which, when you think about
Yeah.
it, in a Ferengi's ear,
Yeah.
Jesus
Yeah.
fucking Christ.
Yay.
Except the Ferengi ear is so complex, the poor eel just gets lost and starves to death. Would have been a fun callback, though.
There was an extended shot of underboob in this episode.
Yes.
That was a
Yes,
little
that was
uncomfortable.
That was horrible.
Because it was so front and center, and
It
that
was
guy's
right
face
next to his
was
head the whole time.
like, can you imagine being either of those actors
Nope.
and just having to deal with that for like 2 hours or something
For the entire call
to get
that
the one
day.
shot? Yeah.
You know, that's...
I
You
was
can't
okay
lift
with
your
the
arms and you
situation.
flash
I'm
everyone.
already-
So much underboob.
I'm okay with
I
it.
thought it was nice.
Yeah, I was
It was a
I'm
nice
not
underboob,
complaining
but
about
it was
it.
still just
Perverts.
awkward and weird.
Jeez.
Well,
It was-
because
and it was
he was
awkward
trying to
framing.
entice him with
Yeah,
kitties.
no, I get it.
So
but
it's not awkward and weird. It's
Still.
exactly what he was trying to do. He was trying to be like, "Hey,
He's
buddy,
trying to
see
do
that
something awkward and
underboob
weird.
at your eye level?
Here's some weird
You can have some of this
underboob.
underboob."
And some awkward underboob.
It wasn't the underboob was not awkward.
It was delicious.
Look, underboob can be totally fine in
The
the right
placement of it
situation.
right next to that guy's head was
Okay, but I'm just saying, like, don't blame it on the underboob. It's not their
No,
fault. That
no,
underboob
I'm
is
not-
attached
no,
to a
I
lovely
was-
human
I didn't
being
mean to
whose
imply-
underboob you're now calling
I didn't mean to
awkward,
imply
you
that I had an
monster.
issue with the underboob.
You
I had an
know-
issue with the usage
You know,
of it.
you only pay attention to the underboob. I noticed that she was an expert Dabo player. It was, you know...
Do Dabo girls play Dabo? Or do they just hang out?
No, but Quark said that
They
they
would
were
be
going to
tutors,
teach.
yeah.
They were going to teach
Mm-hmm.
Kot. I don't know about you.
It was I who was the monster.
I was listening to what was being said in the scene as opposed to just
Oh,
being
no.
a game.
Yeah, you
That's
just
the thing. That's the thing.
oogling underboobs.
That's the thing with nudity and sexuality and bullshit in television or, you know, on stage. I just read a script recently that, you know, has a long fucking nude scene. I'm like, if I were to see this on a stage, I would not pay any attention to the plot. I'd be like, there's a wang out.
Dang,
Look
dang,
at the
dang,
wang.
Hang
It's
out
just
with your
there.
wang.
It's being a wang.
It's like Crazy
Wanging
Frog.
about.
Everyone loves Crazy Frog. Why does he have to have a penis?
Crazy Frog?
Yeah, it's a British advertising mascot who's
That has-
a naked frog. That
The naked
dances
frog that
around.
goes... wing, 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 wing.
It was
Does he
big
have a
for like
penis?
10 minutes
Yes.
in 2000.
Why does he have a penis?
I don't
Because
know.
he's naked.
What's
and he's
it
a
called?
frog.
Crazy Frog.
Crazy Frog. Look it up.
Well, I gotta see this wang for myself.
So before we wrap and move to the next episode, I gotta say, highlight though of the dovetailed plots was when they beam over to the runabout, and Quark is standing there all cocky with the phaser, like he's the one that saved the day. It's like, no, Quark.
I love him.
Oh,
He's
he's
just
great.
holding the guy at bay, but they had...
No, but his face was
He was
just
holding
like,
the guy at bay, but they didn't pay the actor for that day.
Oh,
So
yeah.
they didn't show him.
yeah.
Okay, I know last week we had an excuse for why the people who barged onto the station could have their phasers, and that was that Quark turned something off.
Yeah.
How did Kot have a phaser in this episode?
Smuggled it up his butt.
Okay.
Yikes.
Yeah, again, like the transporter, the weapons detection grid only matters when it's central to the plot.
Yeah, he was also very fucking sloppy at murdering. Like, everyone knows Kot is here to murder Quark. Quark has gone to Odo and said, hey, Kot wants to murder me. Odo has talked to Kot and been like, you want to murder Quark? And he's like, yeah, but whatever, everyone does. And then he very, very sloppily just shows up in Quark's quarters and tries to strangle him. It's like, really? This is how you do it, guy?
Your mother didn't raise you to
Jesus
act like
Christ.
I
this.
loved just his complete and utter lack of imagination.
He's so bad at this.
I was pretty awesome.
Does explain how
He's-
Quark managed to dump him so easily.
Yeah, he's just really bad at it.
Cool.
So Julian was awful to a really cool woman who needed a wheelchair.
I'm sure he thought of it as him being like the best guy.
Oh yeah, no, he was like,
Oh, yeah.
but he was like controlling and bossing her around and like infantilized her and like there
Yeah,
was
he sucked. It was
his
bad.
treatment of
You
her
taught
was
me how to
awful.
fly.
You know,
I love you.
I barfed in my mouth.
Did you see how sad I was when I saw on the screen that you got shot? Sad.
He actually didn't react that much, I thought.
didn't.
I just feel he was off
He
the
should.
hook.
I expected that, because
Melora!
the camera goes and
Mel-
zooms in on him,
Melora!
and he doesn't do anything. I'm
Melora!
expecting, him to be like, "Oh no, that girl I fucked. What's her
No.
name? Barbie."
Oh,
no.
at the end, did it seem to imply that they couldn't be together because she didn't take the treatment, or
No, just I think it was more the whole long distance relationship.
or she like
She wanted to
finished,
live her
she
life?
finished what she was doing, and had
she
to
realized
leave?
she could probably do better.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Well,
she was like,
yeah,
I
I
could
mean,
do
there's a
that.
ton of better reasons to not
Dax
be with
talked her out of it.
Julian. But I just wasn't sure. Like it seemed a little fuzzy at the end.
It was,
exactly
you're right.
Why
Yeah.
they couldn't be together.
I liked her hair beads.
Oh my god.
her hair was cool.
I loved her hair. It's like the first time I ever fucking noticed any aesthetic of any costume in the whole fucking series.
You saw the
watched.
underboob.
That wasn't really
That's
costume.
a lack of costume.
I did.
Missing costume.
I did enjoy though the
underboob.
He was like talking about the Little Mermaid. He's like, does she live happily ever after? And I just wanted to go, well, in the Disney version.
Yeah. Why does Dax? Because this was Dax brought it up, not Julian.
Because that's
Why
how
does
this.
Dax know this?
That's how this show do.
Well, also,
Everyone
That's a
knows
trans-
human
Dax
everything.
is, 1,000 years old, and
She knew Hans Christian Andersen,
Yeah.
obviously.
anyway.
Apparently that's a common
Knowing
association
Hans Christian
in some,
Andersen?
No, in some like, disability groups and stuff, like considering themselves like mermaids.
Oh, I thought you meant Dax knowing the fucking myth.
No.
I also thought that. I'm
I was
like,
very
why?
confused where you were going with this.
Sorry, no. And I don't fully understand it myself, so I'm not going to speak as an authority on it.
Well, because they don't have... Yeah.
No.
So
I feel like I have
they don't know what forks are called.
Oh, no.
They brush their hair with forks. It's very confusing.
rules of acquisition.
All right, yeah. So in the following episode, Rules of Acquisition.
More sexism.
Yeah,
Well, it is Ferengi.
Quark takes his partner Dosai Do, and we
Round and round and round they go.
round and round and round they go. Yeah. So in this episode,
Pel shows up.
yes, Pel. So we're playing Tongo, which is a Ferengi gambling game with Quark's entire staff
Which
plus
seems
Dax.
to be like, what, super fast poker with, like, betting happening all the time?
Yeah, betting, and it looks like, I don't know, there was like cards on the rotating table, which I guess must have something to do with something.
Yeah.
I'm sure a nerd has made rules to Tom.
Yeah. So
Oh, yeah.
it's
We'll
some
play
kind
it
of-
God, can we find them?
It's some kind of card game, but Dax is apparently really, really good at it and cleans up. And we also find out, there's a new employee in Quark's, Pel, who is like strangely like very like helpful and competent and like
For a Ferengi,
Rom
wow.
isn't crazy about this because Worf's like, I'm brother.
What was he like?
Oh, brother.
Who was like that, Rom?
Yeah.
I fucking hate Rom.
God,
I hate Rom. Anyway.
They're
No,
playing a
fuck
little friendly
Rom.
game of Congo, and then who should call up but Grand Nagus Zek?
Oh dear God, and his cats.
So Zek's like, Quark, I'm coming over.
That was a good Grand Nagasek.
So Zek says, hey Quark, we're gonna expand our operation into the Gamma Quadrant, and I want you to negotiate the first deal. I got these peeps coming over, the Dosai. I want you to get some Tula berry wine from them.
It looked tasty. The whole time watching it, I was like, man, I really want cranberry juice. I really want cranberry juice now.
Wait, when did we actually see the Tula berry wine?
It wasn't red.
Wasn't it? I thought we saw it.
a bluish color.
When did we see it?
I don't think we
Wasn't
did.
it the
I don't
stuff
think
that was
we did
coming? I thought it was
either.
the stuff that was coming out of the fountain in the Dosai little place where they.
Also,
were.
what
That
were those?
Dosai do.
Hang on, before we go on, what were those things that Pel gave to Quark that was like basically popcorn that made you really want to
Oh,
drink?
they were
one
like
place?
some kind of
Were those the
pea.
same thing or something else?
No,
No,
those
that
are
was like
peas.
Those are
Space
pea-
peanuts.
Those
I
are,
wanted those too.
so
Those
they
were sand peas that make you real
Yeah, so
hungry.
basically,
Really
Really
thirsty.
hungry whilst watching this episode.
so Pel is just sucking up to Quark the whole time, but Quark likes it and is like, yeah, my new little buddy. So they go and they have these disastrous negotiations with the Dosai, who are like these badasses. But Pel is still very supportive of Quark and is like, let's just go and see the go find the Dosai and go to their planet and we'll tell them who's boss. And Quark's like, yeah, let's do that. So they do, and long story short, the Dosai are like, we're not giving you this fucking Tuliberry wine, dipshit. And then out of nowhere, Pel plants one on Quark's lips. Oh, it's a lady! It's a lady Ferengi. She's wearing.
Quark didn't even know until later.
She's wearing fake ears because lady Ferengis have little ears
Aw.
compared to
Yeah,
the men.
Quark had to be having some fucking Mulan confused sexual feelings about Pel.
He didn't seem very confused about his feelings exactly though.
He just wasn't going to address it.
Yeah. Like he
Well, what I thought was-
clearly was
yeah.
into Pel. Wow.
We'll get to that. But yeah, so in the end,
He preferred profit.
they don't get the Tula berry wine. Pel gets outed as a woman.
By fucking Rom, you piece of shit.
And well, they don't get the wine, but they get in from
But yeah, they get
That's
information that
On
there's
the Dominion.
Yeah, there's this other, apparently.
I tease you because I love you. You know that, right?
Yeah.
Okay, I just want to make sure.
Apparently, there's some big cheese people in the Gamma Quadrant that if you want to get any business done, you got to deal with the Dominion. So we get the first mention of this mysterious group called the Dominion, which of course Quark's like, that sounds like profit. And in the end, unfortunately, Pel is like, the world just isn't ready for a female Ferengi. Being
wearing
involved in
clothes
and
making
being,
deals.
Does she go live in the Gamma Quadrant? What happened to her again?
She thinks she just goes away.
She takes his money and runs.
But where's she gonna go?
And all he gives her is
Anywhere.
10 pieces of gold pressed latinum.
10
You
bars.
fucking cheapskate.
Just 10 bars.
It sounds like a fair amount.
I think
That's
it was
2 days of work from Quark.
It's true. I think I don't know. I think it was implied to be enough. Whether canonically it actually would have been.
I don't like
Yeah,
it.
the value of gold plus platinum seems to fluctuate wildly.
Yeah.
Because 199 bars of it in last week's episode
Gets
was
you 42 ancient limited edition relics.
and it was also in enough to barely enough to make a heavy duffel bag. Whereas 10 is like a box that's going to restart your life in this one. So I don't know what the values are.
Yeah.
Well, but the other guy was saying that 199 was a good start on fixing what had been done when he fucked him over. So,
he was never gonna let Quark off the hook.
well, that's true. But so that means 200 is a lot.
I mean, Q paid what, $1 million bars?
He said he was gonna, but I don't think he actually did he?
No.
And
The auction ended.
And people pay crazy amount of money at auctions for stupid shit.
Yeah, rich people are dumb.
Yeah. Anywho.
So yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the writers were itching to paint in more about what goes on in the Gamma Quadrant and wrote this episode up so that they could see the Dominion in a comedy plot.
I don't think this was a comedy
This wasn't
plot.
funny.
Parts
It was
of-
heartbreaking.
A lot of
Yeah.
it is played for laughs, which made me really upset. Anytime Zek goosed Kira,
Yeah.
I got pissed.
Yeah.
Because they played it off it's Zek being quirky and funny, and you're supposed to laugh at this. And the fact that it's clear that it's supposed to be a joke, because it happens 3 times, a fucking joke.
Yeah.
And it's this is wrong and makes me squeaky.
I had a much better headcanon going until I was proven wrong. And it still would have been wrong, don't misunderstand. But it would have been a little
Kira cuts off his hands.
that would have been great. No.
I thought she was gonna punch him.
I was hoping she
Chokes him
would.
to death.
No,
She
but-
said she would.
and
Yeah.
So
Jabba.
the thing is, the second time it
Yeah.
happens, they're in that sort of group together. And I was like, wait, was that even Zek or was that Tall Dude? And then when Tall Dude showed up with the earring...
Meherdoo?
Yeah, Meridu shows up with the earring. He's like, wait, is that actually her? Is he secretly into her? Is this going to be a whole
I
thing?
wondered that too.
And she was going to be like, look, Zek, I can't take this. Like, I didn't send this to you.
And then Meherdoo would just wink.
And it's all right, yeah, he was still being kind of weird and stuff, but at least that would have been I don't know, something. I don't know what. It wouldn't have been much better, but it would have been a little better.
90s romance.
Yeah. Yeah, whereas Zek is just gross.
Well, yeah. I mean, I think honestly, I think Zek, honestly,
It's disgusting.
in retrospect, is kind of a
Wallace Shawn.
no, is
Harvey
a Harvey I think he's actually a blatant parody of Harvey Weinstein.
Yeah, that's possible.
He is kind of making or breaking a lot of people's careers.
Gross. Basically Zek looks and acts a lot like Harvey Weinstein.
That's an insult to Zek.
Yeah.
He looks much better than Harvey Weinstein, to be fair.
Well, this is Harvey Weinstein.
I don't know.
30
Did you
years
watch
ago.
that hair combing scene?
Oh,
The
God.
ear
With
comb
the-
has
has
a
a
little
little
decorative
head.
head on it like his cane
Yep.
does.
Does everything he owns?
Yes.
Yes.
I will say, there was one thing I really appreciated, and it was subtle, and maybe it wasn't even really thought through that they had done this, but when Dax and Pel are talking about the fact that Pel loves Quark, and she's like, oh yeah, it's obvious you have feelings for him. It's like, I know, and I was like, oh yeah, and I'm sitting there thinking, right, Dax has figured it out. It's like, oh, no, Dax is just as surprised as everyone else to find out she's a woman.
Yeah, Dax just assumed that it was
A same-sex thing, and was
thing.
totally just like,
Yeah.
that's fine.
Yeah, and I like that
Yeah.
that detail
Was
is,
in there.
is working into Star Trek. I think it's been
Yeah.
a while that they've been toying around with having same-sex couples
And they
portraying that kind of a thing.
they don't commit for a while. But it was nice to see that at least someone on the show...
Except with Garrick and Julie.
Well, but it was nice to see someone on the show just sort of treated as
and
very...
Quark.
as very matter of fact. It's like, oh yeah, no, of course. Okay. And even later on, you know, with Quark, it's like, all right, he's clearly not into it, but he's also not like, get out of my life. He's just like, we're just not going to talk about this.
Yeah, he doesn't yell no homo at.
Right, yeah. It really is almost just like, you know, it's just kind of like, whoa, you're really good at making profit too, and that turns me on. But like,
you're still, it's nothing, it's just, so we're still going to be buddies, but like,
Yeah, and I think like, you know, the fact that Quark doesn't even make the connection until Rom tells him is...
Like, it definitely could have been played way more, like, gay panicky. And they
but you know why he passed out at that scene is because all the blood rushed to his dick.
I really actually liked that scene. I liked the technique they use of just going out of earshot of the camera. Earshot, hey, but I'm ching, so that we don't hear what they're saying, but we just see the reactions. Because I feel like if you heard it, it would just be the same stuff you'd be expecting. So just seeing the reactions, and then Armin Sherman does such a such a cute little fall
down
onto the stairs.
There had to have been a pad there or something.
I'm sure there was,
or someone caught him.
But it was still very cute.
Yeah, that's probably the second best fall after Data. Pretending to be a mannequin in the most toys.
Or Data doing his fall in Naked Now.
Or that time where he jumped off the side of the thing.
In first contact.
Maybe not that one.
And it was awful. We're actually talking about good falls?
Yeah.
Sorry, I thought...
Yeah, it's fine. So I was sitting there, and it's like, the problem again is this is the show I sort of watched a lot as a kid. So I'll never be certain when I'm actually clever versus somewhere in the deep mists of my barely functional memory, something has swum to the surface. But so I have this note. Okay, is Quark really going to be the chief negotiator? Is this another weird thing? This fucking waiter boy's going to have the gig because he's too good, isn't he? Wait a minute. Is the waiter a lady?
I figured that Pel was a woman really early on because of her voice. Yeah. There was nothing else giving it away to me except for the voice. And I was
she was pulling a funny Ferengi voice. I mean,
but
all Ferengi kind of do a weird voice.
Yeah, I know, but this sounded like a very womanly voice.
But they also, I mean, they kind of like foreshadowed it by like giving Dax shit for being a woman.
They talk about sexism like 5 times.
We're better than the women.
Before we start talking to Pel about things, like there's even the comment of you have the weak tiny lobes of a female.
Yeah.
They bring it up 15 times.
Yeah, and she also has the weird ears because she's got the extra.
They all have weird ears.
No, but she's got like. Her ears are more shallow because she's got the fake ears over her real ones. And...
I was going to say, but here's the thing. I think that was probably just a design flaw, not...
Do you realize, Chris, all of them are wearing fake ears?
Well, yes, but I mean,
I
think they actually designed hers to look like hers were...
I did not notice that at all.
Oh, yeah, no, if you look at her, they're like... Because usually they have very deep, like, whatever the hell the inner...
Umox grooves.
No, the bit that, like, leads into the...
Umox grooves.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're Umox grooves.
But, like, she had very shallow ears. For
ear canal.
Ear canal, thank you.
I'm curious what...
I cannot say words anymore.
I want there to be some kind of word that sounds like labia, but it means ear folds.
Yikes.
Oh my. One thing that struck me is that at least at first, they tried to make it that it wasn't going to be really a love thing, or at least... I mean, I guess it was pretty clear from the beginning, but Pel's like, I'm doing this because I want to earn profit, so it's more...
Which she does.
Which she does. I'm wondering if you think at all that having the love angle to it cheapened Pel.
I say no, but that's just because I have a little crush on Quark, so...
I mean, I also have a little crush on Quark, but I do think it cheapens it, because... it's good because she ultimately decides to continue to pursue her dream and be herself, because she's like, I'm not going to be that kind of woman, but I think... I don't know.
I don't know, I'm torn, because like at first it's sort of, but then you see like... Quark kind of blow it at the end, and you're like, oh, Quark, you fucking idiot.
Regarding Quark, because I know I've seen this episode before, and I remember it coming off as Quark being, like, the most progressive Ferengi, which isn't saying much, because Ferengi are fucking monsters.
Yeah.
And because Quark does have a couple, like, very, very glimmering, redeeming moments, but I remember them being much bigger, like him. Like, he defends Pel to some extent.
I mean, he gives up his gamma quadrant
His share of the
profits. and
gamma-
all
Yeah, but then
that.
he says something to the effect of when Pel says, I want to wear clothes. What would you think of me if I wore clothes? And he, and I forget what the fuck the line
Yeah.
is.
Yeah.
There's
It
a
would
line. There's a
it
line.
would matter to me.
The line would be
Yeah.
like, I'd care. It's like,
Yeah,
oh,
and that's-
damn it, Quark. She likes you. Fuck you.
She likes you. You're clearly into her to an extent. Like, just get over your
But
outdated concepts.
I think we're asking a lot of the Quark character if to not say that, because I mean,
Oh, no,
the thing that we like about Quark is that he's Quark. Like, even like when he's always doing something shady.
Yeah.
He's the reason why Dax almost died last week was because Quark was trying to pull a shady deal.
No, don't worry. It makes perfect sense that he says it.
Yeah.
But there's still that part of you that kind of wants him to, like, not
Yeah.
be Quark. Just once
But you
and,
can't.
like,
You can't.
get her.
You shouldn't also have all your character development like all at once.
In one
Exactly.
episode.
You know what I think?
Season 2 and
Yeah,
That's
if
the
he'd
thing,
come
it's-
at the end of the I could see Quark getting to that point. But
Yeah.
I think it would be very unrealistic if Quark had come out by the end of the episode and been like, "No, women should be."
Oh, yeah, no,
equal
like, don't get me
and
wrong.
Women's
females."
rights.
I 100% agree, but there's just that party. There's the sensible parts, like, this is how it has to go. And then there's a part of you that watches, like, romantic comedies that's just like, oh, Quark, don't be realistic, be in love.
I was shipping it real hard.
Yeah. Again, this is another character that I think like Pel would have been really great to be a returning character
we
or
never
even like
see
a
her
cast
ever
member.
again.
Probably not. Oh, you know what's
I
great?
I can't recall.
hate it.
You know what's great? So the original title of this was Profit Margin. They're bad at titles this year.
Yeah.
It was originally written as a TNG script in which Pel was involved with Riker. So much like my thoughts about Melora just now. Like apparently I just think everyone's banging Riker.
Well, this
these
one is
days.
definitely
she's still
like
gonna be a
this is
Ferengi?
very similar.
Was Riker
to-
gonna
to
bang a
the,
Ferengi?
the
I didn't
Outcast,
look that
isn't it?
far in. It's very The Outcast, that's true.
Yeah, but... Yeah, no, it's...
Star Trek has solved gender. Thank you, Star Trek.
Yeah, I was definitely screaming at the television. Like, literally, I was like, Quark, what the fuck? I was literally yelling at my TV. I'm sure my neighbors think
And again,
I'm
you knew
insane.
it couldn't go that way, and it was more realistic for him
I
not to,
know,
but you still...
but damn it.
Pel would have been the best thing to ever happen to Quark.
Oh, totally.
Are you kidding?
Seriously, if you would have let her
Yeah.
jerk off.
She was way better at everything Quark thinks he's good at.
Yeah, so much.
Like her fucking popcorn plant thing. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
Everyone will want it. You don't realize you're thirsty, but you keep getting a drink.
Yeah, she's like,
She's genius.
Quark, it's
Yeah.
called peanuts at the bar, you idiot.
Well, it sounded like he already had peanuts. These are just
The
like
better,
super
yeah.
peanuts.
Yeah, but I was... Oh, so that's the other thing,
Cashews.
too, is... In the beginning, it wasn't clear what this episode was going to be. So I was like, oh my god, he's going to over-dehydrate everybody and they're all going to fucking start dying at the bar. Because if you're dehydrated
Yeah.
and you start drinking alcohol, it's not going to help the matter.
No, you
That
got a
would have been
point.
so funny if that was the whole plot.
Well, I was like, is this what's going to happen in this episode?
I'm so thirsty. Like Cisco crawling on the ground, like,
It's the nuts!
the peanuts
I,
are so good though.
All right, so
Caitlin, keep that in the back of your mind when we're writing DS9
oh my
fan
god.
fictions.
Yeah.
Yes,
So I
please
would have
do.
been a better writer for TAS than for Deep Space Nine. You know.
No, I'm-
What do you
I'm
want?
not
What do
even
you want? What do you
joking. I'm
want
not
from
even
me?
joking.
Come on.
No, that would have been a great episode.
I did like the scene where the second Tongo game that Zek is in.
Oh,
where,
yeah.
Where it's basically
He's a cheating
Calvin Ball?
He just exactly. It's
Yeah.
Calvin Ball. It's just
I get a do-over because I'm Grand Nagus.
Well, the thing's like, yeah, there's a non-Ferengi in the room. That ain't gonna fly. That doesn't work when someone's there that's not...
Yeah,
Try and
and,
kiss
and,
your
and
ass.
Dax also has the
Yeah.
chutzpah to be like, no, Zach,
Yeah.
I'm not putting up with you. You may be Grand Nagus to the Ferengi, but I ain't a Ferengi, bitch.
Bitch.
Oh, man.
Oh man.
I kind of liked the I liked the Dosai. I thought they were kind of
Oh
cool.
yeah, I like her makeup.
Okay, I
Makeup.
really, I just really need that to be in-universe makeup as well. Like, I hope we're not supposed to believe that's
That's like their
a
cheetah
pattern.
print. Yeah.
If their
it was
design
ma-
was
I-
really original series.
I think it was makeup. Like
Yeah, like I think it's supposed to be even in-universe, but...
Jake, the Ferengi's ears are fake.
no, I mean yeah, like
That wasn't their real skin, Jake.
Well, yeah,
all
because
those
we-
actors
Those
have to be
are
tattooed. Well, like,
people.
Well, like it's just like like I've been watching The Mandalorian, and there's an episode where we see what looks like a Darth Maul species.
Oh, it's
It
a brat.
is.
and he's not made up like Darth Maul.
Right.
It's like, because like I could totally see in Star Wars Darth Maul being like his species just looks like Satan's.
Yeah,
but no, they're just horned people.
Yeah, the horns are natural.
He
Everything
tattooed
else.
his whole shit.
Yeah, well, that's what it is. Everything else is a tattoo with him.
Oh, that's fun.
Yeah, so he's not just like a devil man. He did that to himself.
Yeah, like the horns
He still is a devil man.
I was gonna say we never said he was just a devil
the
man.
horns.
He
The horns
still
are
is.
natural, but Zabrak are usually like their skin tone generally is they have a single skin tone, which they tend to be sort of like beige.
So wait a minute. We've seen
Welcome
literally
to
two of these characters.
Welcome to
Darth
a Star
Maul and
Wars
one other
to
one,
steer
and you know the
her by.
entire.
You also see some in Battle.
Chris is to Star Wars sort of what you are to Star Trek a lot of the time.
Well, that over eggs my Star Wars knowledge.
It overeggs
No, but
your
they're
pudding.
also-
Nick, do you know the name of every species in Star Trek?
I know of several of them.
Yeah, Chris is a bigger nerd in Star Wars than you're in Star Trek.
He knew it was Brack.
No, Zabrak.
Oh.
But
Yeah, bitch, get it right.
no, it's just it's in The Mandalorian, and you see
We will cut the part where you're talking over him. Stop.
you see non-tattooed Zabrak in Battlefront 2, which are like not canon story-wise, but the aliens are
I guess I didn't have those games. I guess I never noticed.
yeah.
No, you do. Didn't you just say Battlefield?
I
He
said
said he has them, he's never
I have
noticed.
them.
No,
I've
you
never-
noticed, didn't you? No.
Sorry,
Anyway,
I thought
sorry,
you were
this was a
saying that you
weird
didn't
tangent.
have
I
them.
have those games.
I know you do. We've played them together.
That's the beautiful part.
Well, it depends on how we segued into it.
Y'all are rude as fuck.
You don't have to keep all of it is the fucking problem.
Well, it's sometimes not that easy to find a good...
Oh, wait. Abrupt cut. There we go.
Yeah, but conversely, like people who like the Star Trek also sometimes like Star Wars, so it's not like
But wait,
but nerd talking about it.
seriously, where were we before we...
it's a Star Trek podcast.
We were talking about the Dosai and their makeup.
Oh, right. Yeah, I imagine... Because, like, you can see with the... What's the woman's name? Il something?
Ilsa? Ingrid Bergman?
Inglatu? Or is it Inglatu or Zairi? One of those.
Well,
I think Zairi is the woman.
Okay, so Zairi, like, because she has her, not Ronald Moore, what's his name?
Michael Pillar.
Not Michael Pillar.
Who are we talking about?
Guy that took over when Roddenberry died.
The showrunner?
Took over what?
Star Trek.
Oh, it...
Berman!
Rick
Rick
Berman.
Berman.
Oh, Rick
Had the Rick Berman approved deep V in her shirt, like...
The Roddenberry approved.
But
You
no
missed
under
Roddenberry.
boob, sadly.
But, like, you can see she just has, like... She doesn't have, like, bright red skin with dots, so it does seem like in-universe it's also just makeup. It's not a skin... Because that would then be... Still not as stupid as Nosehook Guy, but up there.
Maybe her spots just don't go all the way down.
Yeah, I just assumed it
The
was
guy,
like a decorative.
well, the guy had the guy's costume was basically the same thing. It also had a ridiculous V cut into it, and you could see that they like that.
Oh, you're right,
His
it
face
did.
paint like kind of like met down.
Yeah,
by
you're
the
right. I
sternum.
forgot about that.
Yeah.
You're right.
Equal opportunity bad costume design.
Yeah.
Nice.
But I did like them as a species. I thought that they were cool.
It's like, which one? I think you said it, Ross. They do feel like they dropped in from TOS, though.
I hated their
I agree
entrance,
with
and
you.
because that kind of cements like.
Oh, when they
This
threw
is-
the man.
Yeah, when they throw him in and he's like, whoa!
Yeah, that was a
And
great-
I'm over it. He's like, so it's a comedy. We're just admitting this is a comedy because we're doing a comedy entrance. And then they did so many little comedy takes. Like, anytime something happened in three succession, it's like, oh, they're making it a comedy bit.
Yep.
Like, there's one where, like, Quark looks at a guy and then looks back at Pel, looks at a guy, looks back at Pel, looks back at a guy, back at Pel, 3 times in a row, and it's like, it's a fucking comedy bit. Please stop!
There's also one of the most ridiculous scenes, which is Rom trying to find dirt on Pel.
Oh.
And so they cut to Pel's bedroom, which is destroyed.
Yeah.
And
He doesn't- he looks under the bed
No,
and
no.
laughs.
Rom is going through a pair of socks.
Yeah.
Puts it down, sits on the bed dejected, and then looks under the bed, which is where the box was very
Well,
obvious.
Rom's also a moron.
Right.
No,
again,
I know, but like it's
Drop
like,
him in a lake, couldn't find a cup
it
of
is
water.
it was a comedy bit.
Yeah.
Like, and it was like super exaggerated.
But I think it's okay to have a comedy bit.
I mean, kind of. So this actually comes up with how Jadzia kind of talks about it. Is like when Jadzia's talking to Pel.
That's what White Cat thinks about your clock.
when Jadzia's talking to Pel, like, Jadzia's kind of, like, entertained by what's going on, whereas Pel's, like, risking her life.
Yeah.
Like,
that's because
she
she's,
could go to
like...
jail, and, like, but Jadzia's just like, oh, ha, 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 whatever.
She'd be, like, exiled from Ferengi or some shit.
That's because Jadzia is, like, timeless and shit, and doesn't give a fuck
also
about
Jadzia's
anything.
like,
Only
okay,
lives one life.
Jadzia's like, last week I almost got Julian off my back. Maybe this week I can get Quark off my back.
Yeah. But it just plays into, like, the kind of tonal dissonance between where, like, there's some serious topics in it, and yet they're playing it so heavily as a comedy.
Yeah.
My God, Quark made Jadzia's old, like, I'm guessing her first bedroom.
Oh, yeah.
That
in
was
the
so
holodeck,
creepy.
And then
So
tried to
you
bang her in it, I'm sure.
No,
He
she
said-
said it was really sweet. I don't
Until
know.
he tried to kiss me.
Oh,
Yeah.
fuck, you're right. Gross.
He
Okay,
made
never
my
mind, sorry.
childhood home. I described it. I think it was like
Overheard
he heard me describing it,
Quark!
recreated it, did terribly, but it was sweet. Then he tried to
Here's
kiss
the
me.
thing. Even, like, the last place in the world I would want to fuck is my childhood bedroom.
Yeah, but Ferengi culture's different.
I know. But, like, just... I don't need the room that I was
So which-
5 years old in.
So which childhood home was it? Was it Jadzia's? Or was it Curzon's? Or... What's
It's
Tobin?
some other one.
Asshole from last week?
Yeah, it could
was
have
it
been
Varad?
Varad.
Good God, that asshole.
Durf.
Durf.
Non-zero chance there was someone named Durf. Durf Dax.
I think we learn all of them at some point.
We probably do, yeah. Durf Dax.
There was the guy that they hid the anti-gravity boots in his locker in
The other Dax, yeah.
in Star Trek 6.
Yeah,
that
the coincidental Dax. He had the feet that were akin to that guy's horrible nose.
Yeah.
Did I have anything else on this one? That's
Yeah,
not
it
my
was just
notes.
mostly a lot of Ferengi being terrible about women.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
And by the end-
the Dominion name drop is super big.
I know.
Oh,
Yeah.
there were Pac-Leds at the bar.
Yeah, I noticed them. Yeah.
Oh, no.
I'm glad they're making their way in the world.
They were definitely
Making things go.
eating those goddamn beans.
But forgetting to drink.
Who's dumber, Pac-Leds or Rom?
Yes, I was gonna say the Pac-Leds are probably there because they've, like, declared Rom their leader. Because they're so impressed by his brilliance.
The Dosa, I will say, I remember just thinking, like, it's kind of like the Klingons and the Ferengi had a weird baby. They're like, we really like profit, but we also like yelling at each other in big rooms while we drink.
Until Quark knocks our barrels over, because that's his way of negotiating.
That was a power move.
Yeah.
Quark!
Oh, God. That,
Odo just
Odo-
knows.
Odo-
that Quark is
Odo was
committing-
one of the
committing
barrels.
vandalism.
Odo is weirdly possessive about his imaginary brother.
Yes.
He's like, if you had a brother, wouldn't you not make sure no one gets between you? He's like, I suppose I would.
I think that was last week, wasn't it?
No, that was it because
No,
Rom was...
Rom was
We're talking
complaining about Pel.
about
We're talking about brothers in both weeks.
Yeah,
Jesus
no,
Christ.
that was Quark and O'Brien, and this is Rom and Odo.
Yeah, but yeah, and Rom was like, he's stealing my brother. Wouldn't you hate that? No, Odo's like, I don't have a brother. That I know of anyway. And he's like, well, if you had one. He's like, they're right. I would murder somebody before letting them take my brother
Yeah, I think
from
he
me.
literally said I wouldn't, or if you, Rom said something like, would you let anyone get between you and your brother? And Odo was like, no, I guess not.
Yeah, he's
some
like
shit.
weirdly firm. It was, you don't know. Maybe your brother's an asshole. What if your brother is the fucking shapeshifter equivalent of Rom?
Oh.
Probably is.
He just kind of slinks around. He's just kind of like a little, like, I don't know. He kind of looks like a fucking little puddle of goo with a face. Like, hi, brother! It's like, God, you have trouble with faces. You have trouble with existing.
You have nothing to say now. Every other time when stuff was going well, you had something to say.
Cut
But
this.
this part here, you just figured you'd let that go, huh?
Cut it.
Wow.
Well, I mean, looking at how peaked the mic was most of that.
Anyway,
I guess then you can cut.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
So
Well, that was a really poignant observation, Jake. Speaking of
we'll
poignant...
be cutting that.
I was hoping that somebody else would say something else about that.
Yeah, the subjugation of women is shitty no matter what you're making them do. There we go. Great.
Yes.
All right, up next week we'll be talking about 2 more episodes of Deep Space Nine. If you like what you heard and you'd like to hear more, you can find us on SoundCloud, we're on Stitcher, Google Play, and Apple Podcasts. You can also find us online, Twitter and Tumblr. We are SSHB Podcast. On Facebook, you can search us as A Star to Steer Her By. Why are you taking my cards? Why you gotta interrupt my flow? SSHB Podcast. You can also visit us online at sshbpodcast.com, which right now just leads to our Tumblr, but whatever, go there, check it out. And since Jake asked with his big boy words, next week we'll be covering Necessary Evil and Second Sight.
Oh, that's what I wanted to know.
So we'll see you then. Until then, I've been Caitlin.
I'm Jake.
This has been Chris.
This has been Ames.
I was James.
Got any rules of
Asquisition.
Yeah, we got a lot. We got a
Some
lot.
rules of Asquisition.
Rule 69 of
Actually,
Asquisition.
there is a good one.
There were a
I
lot
don't
of them
remember
in
which.
this
I don't remember
episode.
which number it was, but I think it was kissing your boss's ass is never a bad idea, basically. So that's the rule of Asquisition.
Bell wanted to
Bell
kiss
was
his
into.
face.
Aww.
Ayo.
Hell heart Quark.
Maybe he finds her after
And
the
Sloth
series.
Love Chunk.